Do I want to be a YouTuber? Probably not. I'm kidding. Maybe. My wife was working in an office, like a lot of adults do. Couldn't be me. And she was talking with her coworkers, and the fact came up that one of their kids wanted to be a YouTuber. And that a pretty substantial number of kids want to be a YouTuber these days. And that fact surprised them. But as someone who's posted content online both for creative fulfillment as well as to have a place to rant about capitalism, it was their surprise that surprised me. Think from a kid's perspective right now. We have a huge portion of the adult population who are overworked at jobs they don't like. These hypothetical kids' own parents are likely some of those adults. Their teachers are underfunded, underpaid, and underappreciated. Why would they want to do that? And seeing a doctor is harder than it's been in generations thanks to the state of health insurance. The majority of, if not the only example these kids have of people working a job that they sometimes enjoy is probably YouTubers. What else would they want to do? But do I want to be a YouTuber? I don't know, maybe. Towards the end of 2024, I posted a lot of videos to TikTok, and I learned a few things. One of the first things I learned was that I would much rather write and perform dialogue than monologue to a camera. Is that my cue? Oh, thank God. Yes. Okay, it sounded like you were talking about stuff you learned while posting videos. Did you want to get that out of the way or jump into a YouTuber pros and cons list? What do you say we start with pros and cons, and I'll put the lessons in as they become relevant. I'll probably do the most important one towards the end of the video. It's your world. I'm just a segment of your psyche spliced off for the purpose of talking to yourself. Yikes. Where do we start? So, YouTuber. Is it a good job? Oh, I don't actually know. I've never had it be my job. I think some people enjoy it, and some YouTubers talk about how lucky they are to have it, but plenty of them have also talked about the downsides of it, like burnout. Yeah, or even the difficulty of consistently making videos that they themselves enjoy, or even that their core audience enjoys, while also catering to the ever-changing whims of the YouTube algorithm. So it's not a perfect job, but nothing is. Fair. Do you like doing it? I think so. I love doing parts of it. The time I was filming for TikTok was one of the more creatively fulfilling points in my adult life. But in terms of sustainability, well, that does bring up one of the lessons that I've learned. Ooh, should we have a little title card or something for those? Oh, another thing that I learned was I really don't like editing. So I guess if I have someone else edit this, we can talk about doing that. Okay. What was the lesson? High effort, low payoff. Doing dialogue scenes, especially when I had more characters and backgrounds, was a fun challenge to figure out, but it also made making videos way harder, and it didn't mean they would do better. There was very little correlation between effort and payoff. I can see how that would be frustrating. Yeah, it made it really clear to me why we don't see a lot of longer narrative stories on public content platforms. They take more time, more effort, more money, or all three, and no content platform actually incentivizes quality as its highest virtue. They want a high rate of posting with heavy engagement. And you can't do that with quality content? Sometimes you can, but it's easier to just talk to the camera and say something that'll make people mad, especially for short form content. You can film a lot of those and get a lot of engagement. Is that what most content is? Oh, there's plenty of good stuff online, but even if you aren't engagement farming, the time constraint is still there. Your best bet for finding success is whatever content you can make fastest. Which is another thing. Having YouTube not be my job means I don't have much time for making things and they take longer. Free time is a hot commodity these days. A frustrating result is that YouTube is, conceptually, such a cool platform for animators to post their work, but because animation's inherently time-consuming, it isn't likely to be boosted in YouTube's algorithm. Posting several animations a week would be incredibly difficult. So in its effort to boost creators who make for good ad numbers, YouTube essentially puts an upper limit on the quality of its own content. And I assume you don't want to make relatively simple engagement bait? Oh God, no. Some of my most successful TikToks were rooted in some of my anti-capitalist beliefs. And while I had a lot of fun making those, I would hate to only make those. Why is that? Pointing out an issue I see is one thing, but an entire existence of only pointing those issues out feels really echo chambery and not at all helpful. I think there's value in pointing out an issue you see. It can let other people know that they aren't alone in how they feel, or maybe offer a new insight to someone who hasn't thought about it as much. Pointing out a problem, even when you don't know how to solve it, at least leads to a conversation about it. Sure, but having my videos consistently become host to brawls in the comments section is mentally draining on my health. See, this is why you shouldn't read your comments. But where does this put us in terms of pros and cons? So far, for pros, we have more time to dedicate to creative fulfillment, assuming you reached a point where YouTube was your entire job. Yes, a big assumption. And for cons, we have being at the whim of a nebulous, undisclosed algorithm with no real preference towards quality, which is kind of a big con. It seems like it, but I have no personal experience with it. So, we have a semi-nebulous mark in both the pros and the cons. Why don't we talk about money next? Sure. We should just get it out of the way. Get what out of the way? You know, I rant against issues with modern capitalism. Yeah. And yet you want money for making things? What a conundrum. I'm very smart. Yep, the audacity to not want to die in the street makes me a hypocrite. Truly, a traitor to the proletariat in every way. It's a stupid enough argument in enough ways that it could be its own entirely separate video. But I admit, there are certain things about making money on content that start to hit moral issues for me. So content creators are immoral? No, and that is where I can get hypocritical. Outside of the obvious scams, fledgling cults, and slew of zero-effort content farms, I don't hold most things that creators do to pay their bills against them. But I don't want to do them. Well, then what are your options? What is the monetary draw of YouTube for you? The oversimplified and idealized version of YouTube can almost feel like Robin Hood. Speak on that. Okay, making content that people can watch for free is great. And having your money come from YouTube's corporate sponsors could feel like dragging money down from above and using it to provide value to people for free. I can see the appeal there, but the issue is that isn't the job. It's just what the job can look like. It's not what you're actually being paid for. No, it isn't. What you're actually being paid for is providing viewers to those corporate advertisers. Yeah, the videos aren't the product. The viewers are. The videos are essentially a trap used to gather up a following to be subjected to corporate propaganda. I see where that could lead to a moral dilemma. What are the alternatives? The most common is a service like Patreon. Allow people to fund your content directly so that the thing you're being paid for is the content. But that's tough for a number of reasons. Asking for monetary support is hard, especially for something people can get for free. People watching YouTube very rarely feel like they are being provided as a product. But that doesn't change the fact. Not really, no. You could offer bonus content for patrons. Yeah, but if I were hypothetically struggling to make enough content for YouTube, suddenly promising more content seems like a poor solution. And making 2 streams of less quality content doesn't feel like a great solution for creative fulfillment either. Or for providing value to viewers. There are sponsorships. Yeah, but that feels like a particularly egregious betrayal of my beliefs. Really? Not inherently, but I have a hard time imagining a sponsorship that I would be comfortable with. There's the classic, I only recommend products I myself use, which is certainly something. But the odds of a company both having the money to want to sponsor a video while also engaging entirely within business practices I agree with seems unlikely. I not only think about corporations too much to feel comfortable, but I also talk about it enough that it would feel gross. So sponsorships would be unlikely. I mean, with this being my first video and no reasonable guarantee of success of any kind, they're unlikely for a lot of reasons. Yeah, but that applies to all of this. We are engaging in a hypothetical situation in which you are a YouTuber who has found success. Fair, I just wanted a dose of perspective. Also fair, but I think you're overthinking it. Oh, I usually am, but which part? Ads. Yes, the situation you described is a direct, literal translation of the job, but whether or not an audience watches or pays attention to ads is their own decision. Yeah, you don't control the decisions others make. And wanting to take responsibility is good, but you could be using this as a way to talk yourself out of making videos. Probably, especially when you may never make any money on YouTube, in all likelihood. So where does this land us on the pros and cons? Honestly, it feels like a wash. No closer to a choice here. I love it. Yeah, I'm doing my best not to go too in depth with this, but there's so many ideas you could talk about that you could make several videos just on the monetization of content alone. But that's not this video. Correct? I feel particularly bad not talking more about Patreon. There's a lot you could say about giving the viewers more of a sense of ownership over the content that they're supporting and how that impacts creators, but maybe I'll make a video on that someday. For now, why don't we move on? Yeah. The biggest lesson I learned. Did you cue that title card? No. Did you? Really? I mean, it's probably the editor trying to keep the pace up. So, spill it. What was the biggest lesson you learned making TikTok videos? Fine. I'm in my 30s. I've spent my entire life trying to make things. Videos, short films, podcasts, games. I've written a novel that'll never see the light of day. And none of it went anywhere. Those 3 months I spent posting on TikTok were the most consistent acts of creativity I've done in my entire life. What changed? The easy answer is I just did it. Something about TikTok as a platform made it feel easier, like it didn't matter as much. I could just try things. Please don't say the biggest lesson is just do it. It isn't, I promise. Oh, thank God. But it is almost that. You're on thin ice here. A while back, Shia LaBeouf made that monologue that became a meme for a bit. Yeah, his "Don't let your dreams be dreams" one. Yeah, and at the time, it almost felt inspiring. It was almost what I needed to hear, but not quite. It was missing one key element. Shortly after I started posting to TikTok, I woke up at 5 a.m. one day with a mantra playing in my head on repeat. I got up and wrote it down immediately, and it was the motivation behind the next few months of videos. But in spite of that, I still struggle to keep it in mind every single day. I think that's enough preamble. Okay, don't tell me, tell them. Yeah. Make something. Make something poorly. Make something even if it's bad. Make something in spite of it being bad. Make something because it's bad. Make something bad. Make something bad because you can. Make something bad because sometimes the bad thing leads to the good thing. Make something bad because sometimes the bad thing is just good. Make the wrong thing because the only way to make the right thing is to make something. So that's it? Not do it, but make something? No, make something bad. That's what was missing. I know so many incredibly talented and creative people who stopped making things the moment they started worrying if they were good. But good is relative. I wrote 4 versions of this script that I couldn't film because I wanted to make this video good. But that's nothing. Maybe this video will be good, but the only reason it'll get made is by accepting that it might not be and doing it anyways. So you struggle with perfectionism. Yes, but it's not just about being okay when things are not going perfectly. It's about it being okay if they go poorly. Taking half measures against perfectionism doesn't work. It's moving the goalposts. The most likely result is reaching for the same outcome, calling it good enough instead of perfect, and still not doing it because the mental blocks are still there. Make something bad. Yes. Make something bad. That doesn't apply to everything. If you're in a position where you're investing more time and resources than you can stand to lose, then sure, make something good, I guess. But for me, and people like me who have trouble starting, make it bad. Sure, I'm investing my time, but I was already using that time sitting around wishing I was making things. This way, at least I've made something. And like you said, sometimes the bad thing is actually good. Yeah, it's a lesson I don't think I could have taken to heart when I was younger. I think I had to become the version of me who wears a wizard hat every day without minding what people think of me before I could become the version of me who could make things even if they're bad. So what does that mean for our pros and cons list? I think it makes it irrelevant. Oh? That sounds like it calls for a title card. Okay, what's the verdict? Do you want to be a YouTuber? It doesn't matter, because right now the option isn't on the table. I'm not in a position to quit my job to pursue content creation. But I do want to make things. If a day comes when I've made enough things and people like them enough for me to consider doing it as a job, I can decide then. But for now, it's a moot point. I couldn't decide to be a YouTuber even if I was sure. But I do want to make YouTube videos. So let's do that.